just a disclaimer, if you have kids around, there might be some swearing in this video. I'm just gonna be me. If I was having a normal conversation with someone, a friend, a family member, we were having a chat, this is how I would talk. So just forewarning, if you have kids, it might not be the kind of video you wanna have playing with young children around. Hello everyone. So as you can see by the title, I am kind of doing my own response video to the video I filmed about being done with Hermes, being done with the store, you know, being pissed off with events that transpired. I decided I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna film my own kind of response and chat about things that, reflecting on, I realized perhaps were some shortcomings of mine, but also reflecting on some behavior from people and their inability to see a bigger picture. Also, I'm gonna say that YouTube has given creators the decision to be able to turn off comments, to be able to block people, shadow ban them, to report people for bullying and harassment. YouTube has given creators that ability. And if you don't like it, go and complain to YouTube. What I don't understand though is why there were grown people literally talking in a very public forum, trying to tear someone down for voicing their opinion. Even though some people say, oh, if you're making yourself public, then you should expect that you're gonna get criticism. Yes, absolutely, I expect that there will be criticism and there will be also compliments. I know that, I'm completely aware of that. But what no one deserves is to be bullied. I had people trying to stalk me and find out where I live and post it on public forums. Like, what the f? You wouldn't like it if someone was posting where you live, or you wouldn't like it if they were posting about your brother, your mother, your sister, your daughter, anything like that, your father. You wouldn't like that unless you have no one to love. But that being said, it's so inappropriate. Some people were doing that, and that was why I had to turn off the comments as well. But then people would go to other forums and do it. Like, get a fucking life, you know? How much time, you know, the only thing I really envy about those people that took it to the extreme is how much time you have. Because I fucking wish I had that much time. So I haven't watched really that, like, I've only watched 2 reaction videos, and that would be from Living Life with Daily Chick and Connor from Conrad's Closet. Now, Connor actually knows me personally. We have met up before. We do chat, you know. I would say that he is a friend of mine. His video really was able to sort of touch on more about what he kind of knows about me, my personality. And something that he said was, with my emails, he kind of was like, oh, you know, and he is right in that. I think Connor knows that how I am. When we have a chat, I could talk the roof off a house, you know? And I think that for a sales associate, that can be kind of like, wow, you know, especially when they're not your friend. So that is something that I failed to kind of maybe change that part of me and cater it to how would be appropriate for a sales associate. And I feel like there is wrong and then there is right in it, because wrong is, okay, perhaps not being aware of their time and not being mindful of their time. That is something that was wrong and that I feel like I could have done better. But what is right about it is that the general nature behind it was that I was just being friendly and wanting to have a chat, and I wanted to just treat her like a normal person, like someone I would just treat, how I would just treat a friend that I was having a conversation with. So that's where I feel like that was my shortcoming for sure. And Connor was able to point that out because he kind of knows, like, he deals with customer service. So he was like, you know, like, yeah, Mel, that was a bit like you were being too much of yourself, you know, and I get that. So I can totally, completely acknowledge that. However, there is something I want to say though as well, is that it was never pulled up to me by her that she had a problem with me being talkative. So that was just a general assumption people were making, is that maybe she didn't like me because I was talkative. I think that she's a grown adult, and if she had a problem with it, she should have told me that. She could have said to me in person when we had our chats, which we had very lengthy chats. She could have said to me, Mel, you know, I know you're a very talkative person, but with your emails, try to keep it short and sweet, and we'll just keep the chatting to when we're at the store. I would not have minded at all. So we cannot assume that that's exactly how she felt. We cannot assume that, because I would think that she would logically just tell me. But that being said, I still am aware that I could have been more mindful of their time. The other thing I want to note is that people were like, why couldn't you tell that she didn't want to deal with you? Like, how come you couldn't gauge the tone that she wasn't like, didn't want to have you as a client? And the thing I want to say to that is an assumption. When we first met, we actually hit it off like a house on fire, because we had very similar life situations happen, some drama that happened in our life. Like, we were very similar in terms of things that had happened. So we got along really well. Like, we would talk about that sort of stuff, and we would chat about our kids. So it kind of was like a normal sort of relationship where I felt like we clicked. So I don't think that that is correct in assuming that she didn't want me as her client, because I think that for the first year, it was great. We had a really good relationship and we got along very well. And we had very lengthy chats in person. And also that also goes to show with the bags that she offered me. And that also takes me to the other point. Oh my God, people were saying I was crying because I didn't get a bag. Fuck no. I was crying because the brand that I was so invested in and that I had a very like strong passion for. And if you watch my videos, if you're already a seasoned subscriber, you would understand why I was crying. But if you were just some Joe Blow that came in and watched the video, then you would think, oh my God, she's crying about a bag. Then you would think that, because you're not looking at the bigger picture. So that was why I was crying, was because I was just emotional from the situation. I had been like, I felt crushed. I felt like a part of me where I had like this special place in my heart for the brand had been crushed. I was emotional because I felt like my character was being attacked. I felt like they were, you know, like literally I felt like it was like a form of like bullying, because there was intimidation there. I had loved the brand to that next level beyond what we like, you know, I was too invested. Let's put it that way. I will admit I was too invested in the brand. I should not have been so invested in the brand. I feel like I should have just seen it for what it is. It's a luxury brand. It's an they make great bags that are investments. I should have seen it at face value. And that's why I did all these videos on Hermes, because I was very invested in the brand and I wanted to educate people and help people and that kind of thing when it came to understanding the brand. So that was why I was upset. It had nothing to do with the fact that I didn't get a Birkin or Kelly or Constance, because quite clearly I had gotten other bags from the store. Okay, so it was not about that. Yes, I wanted to get a dream bag, but no, that wasn't fucking why I was crying. But yeah, back to what I was saying about how come I couldn't read between the lines. Now, that is where I feel like things started to change after about a year. It was about a year went by, I think. Yeah, it was definitely a good, actually, mate, it was even more than that, because I remember I got offered my Birkin 30 in 2019, and I started dealing with this sales associate in April of 2019. And then I got offered the Mini Ruly in January of 2020, and everything was still all good, very good relationship, chatty, personal life, got along, you know, she called me up on the phone, that kind of thing. Let me also say, I never disclosed the emails in full. I never put the emails on the screen, because that would be a breach of confidentiality, because on the Hermes emails, it actually says you cannot share those emails. They are in trust. I could share my emails, but I couldn't share the emails from her. So you are only getting really one side of the emails. You are not even seeing her full response. So yeah, anyways, back to what I was saying. I feel like the relationship started to shift around about mid-2020. And I think that it started to shift then because I started to film more regularly about Hermes on my channel. Because in the very beginning when I was doing YouTube, I didn't really talk about Hermes in detail or anything. I just spoke about, you know, luxury in general. I was very blasé about luxury. I wasn't really dedicated to talking about Hermes. So I noticed that my channel shifted in 2020. I really shifted, like where I would start to talk more about how to score a bag, you know, spend and all that sort of shit. So I feel like they probably found out about my YouTube channel. The store manager clearly did, because like I said, he blocked me on Instagram. And let me just say, I did not know his Instagram. I had no idea what his Instagram was. I did not give a shit. Never contacted him in my life. I had spoken to him in the store once, only once in my whole time of shopping there for the past, like, 4 to 5 years. Only way I found out about his Instagram was because someone I follow took a picture with him and tagged him, and I clicked on it out of curiosity, which I'm sure anyone would do if they knew that store manager of the store. They would go, ooh, they've been tagged. I'm just gonna click on it and have a look at their profile. His profile was private, so I could tell he blocked me. From the get-go, I could see that he blocked me. And I said to my friends, actually said to Connor, I'm like, can you have a look at this username? Can you see this? And he put in the username and he's like, yeah, I can see it. It's a private profile. And I'm like, he has blocked me. And I thought to myself, hang on. So he obviously knows who I am. And I didn't realize this until very late 2020. That's when I found that out. Very late in 2020. It was like December of 2020 I found it out. So I didn't clue into the whole dynamic shift. But when I reflect back, I feel like the dynamic started to shift at around about mid-2020. It could have also been in mid-2020 is when I asked if Rose Sakura was back. I didn't even say their name. I just said someone got a Rose Sakura Kelly 25. I think that their husband got it for them as an anniversary gift. And I didn't know that Rose Sakura was back. And she goes, oh, that's my client. And I'm like, oh, okay. Anyways, have you got anything in Rose Sakura in any bags? Like Bullies, Evelyne, anything. That was the only reason that I brought it up, was because I was curious about Rose Sakura, and I didn't want to just be like, oh, is Rose Sakura back? Without actually being like, hey, I kind of know it's coming back, you know, and this is why. But I didn't even care who her sales associate was. I did not give a shit. I didn't care, but my sales associate told me it was her client. And that is where she stuffed up. She should never have told me, because if she hadn't have told me, I would have been none the wiser. I wouldn't have even thought to even see what offers she had already got from her and that kind of thing. So even though I know that that is kind of an overstep when you bring up someone else, my intention wasn't bad. I didn't mean to in a bad way. I wasn't trying to probe. I was just trying to prove that I knew that Rose Sakura had arrived at the store. And my sales associate already knew from when I first met her that I was crazy for Rose Sakura. I understand that I kind of overstepped by mentioning it, but my intention was not ill. I wasn't meaning to speak about someone else's client journey. I wasn't trying. Like I said, I really didn't care who sales associate was, and I wish I had never found out. I wish that my then SA had never told me that that was her client, because it was a case of better the devil you know. So when I did find out that it was her client, that's what made me, you know, feel like something's not right here. And even though I can say that I feel like that might be when things shifted, I actually think that I was already in a situation where I probably was never going to get a bag offer. And I think that was because I do social media and I talk about Hermes and I talk about how much I spent, and Hermes doesn't like you talking about spend, because they don't like you insinuating that it matters what you spend in order to get a bag. So let's talk about pushy. All right. So I can see why people would perceive that I was being pushy, but I want to just kind of paint a timeline here. Is that when I first started shopping at the store, we had a wait list, and it was called a wait list. I had multiple sales associates tell me that there was a wait list. My first sales associate, who was fabulous, who was amazing, and she was the one that I kind of got emotional about, because we had a really good relationship. We were close in age, and we both loved makeup and watching makeup YouTube videos. So we had a lot in common in that regards. And I know that when she offered me my first bag, it wasn't based on the wait list. But when she left, and she left because she actually got a promotion to work in a corporate role. That is why she left, because she had actually had a business degree, and she knew that she was always going to go into a corporate role anyway. And she knew I was working in corporate, and that's why she would ask me questions about like working for an office in Australia and that kind of thing. So I knew that she probably was never going to stay. And she actually said to me, I've put you on the wait list for a Birkin 30 in a neutral color. She said that to me right before she left, and that was in September of 2017. She specifically said waitlist. And then on the Purse forum, in the Sydney forum, people had discussed, you know, like the waitlist when it opens. Sometimes people would say, oh my God, the waitlist is open. And then they get a rush of public people trying to get their name on the waitlist, because the waitlist kind of meant that you had a chance of getting a bag without even buying anything from Hermes. For the first 6 months of our relationship, I would only bring up the waitlist. And that was just let me know when it's available, because I didn't live near the store and I didn't want to be forgotten because I didn't live near the store, because Hermes has started to pick up more and more momentum from around about 2019 onwards. So for the first 6 months, I only brought up the wait list. That is when I started to ask for a bag, because you're allowed to get a bag every 6 months from Hermes. Once 6 months is gone, you're allowed to actually get a bag. That was the rule that they had at the time. And that was why I would ask for a bag, you know, and plant the seed. But looking back, I should have only really asked once the 6 months had gone, and put my specifications down that I was after, and to perhaps not really mention it again for until the season had changed. Like, try to time it with the seasons. That's what I feel like I could have done better. I should have just timed it with the seasons. However, that being said, those emails, you only were seeing my emails, you weren't seeing her emails. And I fully know that I could have cut out my emails. I could have not had read them. I could have not even put them on the screen, but I chose to be completely transparent and honest because I don't want to be a liar. Even if I could have done some things better, I never wanted to be a liar. But the time frame of those emails was over 26 months. So people were saying I was being really pushy, but really, when you count how many times I asked, aside from the wait list, because I feel like that's a different thing, because the wait list was so cutthroat, and I know this because I had experienced it before. I even got myself down on the Constance 18 wait list in 2018. Mind you, I never got a bag from that, and that's why I feel like a bag was never going to happen anyway, and I should have clued into that. Yeah, the wait list was cutthroat, and that's why I would bring it up. But I need to also say that even though to some people that might seem, I might have appeared pushy, even though I can admit that I was pushing for a bag, there are lots of other women I know that got bags from the store who were more pushy than me, who even said to me, I need to be more pushy. I know of women who even escalated to the second in charge. They went to Hermes online and contacted them and complained that they didn't get a bag. The women I'm thinking of, to be honest, I don't care how they went about getting their bags, because good on them, they got their bags. I don't care. You know what? Good on them, and I don't blame them. But they got their bags every 6 months. They got multiple bags, not just one. They got two, they got three. They at least got 3 bags by being pushy. So it worked for other people. I even witnessed it before, someone who I didn't actually know, but when I was at the store, there was a lady that pointed to my Grey Asphalt Kelly, and she goes, did you get that from the store? And I go, no, I didn't. And then she said to her sales associate in another language, she pointed at my bag and started shouting that she wanted that. It was pretty much she was saying, I want that bag, because I could tell by the dialect, even though it was in a different language. But yeah, that happened. That happened in front of my face. I don't know if she got a bag because I don't know that person personally, but I'm just saying that is what I define as being very pushy. So I feel like those people that were pushy, that got their bags, those few ladies that I know, it worked for them, and I don't blame them. And I think that they knew that that was going to be my last bag anyway, and that's why they were encouraging me to be pushy. Should I have taken that advice? Probably not. I wish I had been more blasé about it and been more like, I don't really care if I get a bag. I feel like I wish I had that attitude, but frankly, I wanted a bag. Even though I was buying items I wanted, I also wanted a bag too. And I'm not going to lie to myself. You know, that's just the truth of it. But another thing I want to say is that a part of their training at Hermes is to deal with bag requests. They get asked every day around the world at their stores for a bag. So I don't think like this is a foreign thing for the sales associate. They are definitely trained in how to handle requests. They are also trained how to deal with all different types of personality types. You know, the ones that are really blunt and abrupt, the ones that are clearly very, very, very rich and blasé and, you know, don't care. But then they also are trained to deal with the ones that are very chit-chatty, like me. And they're also trained to deal with the ones that are very, very picky. The ones that will nitpick everything. They'll be like, oh my God, the bag's got a crack on it. Oh my God, there's a little mark on the bag. Like, they are trained to deal with all those kinds of client personality types. So I feel like it's completely unjust to be able to say that the way that I am led to the end result. I feel like they could have handled the whole thing better because their sales associates are trained that way. Even though I could have handled it better, so could they. They are not in the right here, and I'm not saying that I am completely in the right either. I will admit that I have had some shortcomings in how I went about the final 26 months of my journey. But I think that no matter what, I was always going to be screwed anyway, because I feel like the decision was already made that I wasn't going to get another Birkin or Kelly bag. I feel like that decision had already been made by probably the store manager. So even though people would say it's not fair that I was pushy, neither is the Hermes system. So let's be frank here. Tit for tat. It might not be fair to be pushy, and it might not be perceived as the right thing to do, but it does work for people, and people have gotten their bags, multiple bags that way. Like I said, literal examples. There are actually people I know that got their bags that way, multiple bags. But the Hermes system isn't fair either. So doesn't that go hand in hand? If you're running an unfair system, how can you expect that all your clients are going to be absolute angels? How can you expect that? You can't, because the system isn't really fair. It's not fair at all. And I feel like with my personality, I'm actually not pushy. Like with my Chanel sales associate, I'll ask for it once and then I'll just let it go because I trust her. But with Hermes, I had no trust. Like the trust was gone. After my third sales associate left, the trust was gone. And I feel like that's why I became pushy, because with my first and third sales associate, my first one, I was never pushy at all. She just offered me a bag just when I asked for a Rose Azalee Pinkerton. She offered me a Birkin 25. I never even mentioned that I wanted a bag, and she, like a Birkin or a Kelly, and she offered me a Birkin. My third sales associate was a different story, because I had already got, like my first sales associate had left about 10 months into my journey. And then my second sales associate got in a promotion. When I got to my third sales associate, I wasn't pushy, but I did mention to her, like, by the time I got to her, it had already been just over 12 months. And I said, look, it's been 12 months since I last Birkin or Kelly bag. Like, I really want one. Is there anything you can do for me? I've been on the wait list since September of 2017. And I didn't even ask that third sales associate more than twice. I think I asked her when we met. And then I asked her again, like later on, and I just said, is there any progress on the wait list? And then in January of 2019, she offered me a bag. So I was only dealing with that third sales associate for only 5 months. I definitely wasn't even pushy with her, and she offered me the Birkin 30 Ini Taupe, but she specifically said to me that she was able to get me that bag on the wait list, and she now had removed my name from the wait list because I had already been waiting for well over 12 months. By that point, it had been 18 months. So I wasn't always pushy. I only became pushy later on, much later on, in mid to late 2019 is when I started to ask for a bag beyond trying to go on the wait list, was because I didn't have faith anymore in the system. I had a bit of a gut feeling that things were getting very competitive, and the older clients, like the clients that had already been shopping there for years, I kind of feel like we got a bit shoved aside. Kind of got the vibe that Hermes was trying to bring in more new clients, and I would see more and more new faces and that kind of thing. But enough said about that. I've already acknowledged I could have done things better in that front, but that was my logic behind it. That was my thought process, and that kind of explains that. The other thing I want to touch on is that when I mentioned how much I spend, some people were like, oh, there are lots of people that spent more than that, and you're complaining about how much you spent. You know what, that's true. There are a lot of people that have spent more than me. Since I actually got my Birkin 30, I had only bought 2 pieces of fine jewelry. Technically, silver is considered like a fine jewelry because it's not in the costume jewelry section. It's actually in the fine jewelry section of their website. So I did actually buy silver fine jewelry pieces, and they were in the thousands. They weren't just like under 1,000, they were in the thousands. So I got the Collier de Chêne bracelet, and I got the Collier de Chêne rock ring. So I know that, however, other people have spent more than me, so I completely get that. They are right in that regards. So I feel like I probably maybe shouldn't have been complaining about how much I spent, but then at the same time I should be complaining because there are people that had spent less and got bags. And I knew that for a fact as well. So that's kind of where it hurts a bit. However, that being said, I was also benchmarking it against previous offers that I got. Like my Birkin 25, I'd spent 5,000. My Birkin 30, I had spent 20,000, plus a mini Evelyne. So, and you don't count bags anyway. So yeah, that's kind of why I was sort of benchmarking against that. When I got to that mid-20s mark on not counting bags, I felt like, hang on, shouldn't like I be getting a bag by now? If Hermes really does offer based on spend, based on loyalty, indicative of how much you shop. I mean, how else do you base loyalty, really? With the whole spend thing, my sales associate did say it didn't matter what you spend and that there is a wait list, that Hermes does follow like a waitlist system. She did specifically say that to me in the very beginning, the first 6 months of our relationship. And that's why I still thought that there was a waitlist in that first 6 months, is because even my sales associate brought it up. My next point is talking about being chatty with the sales associate. I've already kind of spoke about this, so I'm not going to touch on it too much. The only thing I want to kind of make a point of is that, yes, I know I was chatty. Yes, I could have been more mindful of her time. That's for sure. I'm not going to lie about that. Not going to deny it. However, she never pulled me up on it, whereas I feel like she could have politely said to keep it short and sweet. So we're only assuming that she didn't like it. We're only assuming. This is hearsay. But she did actually say to me in one of the emails, she did specifically say, "Thank you for being so productive." And this was in an email where I was chatty and I had listed out all these items. So clearly there was an aspect of the emails that she was quite appreciative of, and she liked that I was detailed in my requests, and I added photos as well in my emails for items that I was after. And also going back to the fact that in person, we were very chatty as well. I just failed to distinguish that when it comes to emails, I should try to keep it short and sweet so I could be mindful over time. I failed to do that. However, people will say the sales associate is not your friend. Most certainly the Hermes sales associate was not my friend, and I failed to distinguish that. But some of my sales associates are actually my friend. And some sales associates actually do want to create relationships with their clients. So I'm going to use my own personal situation. My Chanel sales associate has all the time in the world for me. She would talk to me about personal stuff. She would just talk like a normal human being. As to whether that is just her being a fabulous sales associate and she knows that the core part of customer service is actually relationship building, maybe that's why she's like that. But if it is, either way, I think she is freaking awesome. She is amazing, and she makes it feel like you are a very valued customer. And I like the fact that she has the time of day for you. And I like that she makes this effort to contact me after hours, even if I haven't contacted her, to like say what's coming or ask me how I'm going, you know, ask how things are going with our move, for our house move, all these things. Like, she just asks me normal human being, common courtesy stuff and has a normal conversation with me. So some sales associates really are fabulous, and some sales associates really, really care about client relationship building. Some of them really do. Also, my Dior sales associate, she's now left, but I have her personal number, and when I move, I will be sure as hell going to catch up with her and having a coffee with her. But she will contact me and ask me personal stuff. She will need advice about fashion. She knows I have a YouTube channel. She knows that she probably even watches this video. And she knows that I think she is freaking awesome, because I love when people are just normal. Like, when it comes to luxury shopping, I'm the kind of client that just likes to feel like this is a normal thing where we go and see the sales associate, we spend money, we buy stuff, but we have a chat, you know, we kind of feel like we're friends. I like that. Even though I don't expect it, I don't expect a sales associate to be my friend, but when they go the extra mile to build a stronger relationship and build a rapport, I really respect that. And then sometimes it ends up being that they become your friend. And I know I'm not alone in this, because I had another few people actually message me saying, they're actually in Europe. They go, "Is it not a normal thing that you just catch up with your sales associate and have a coffee? Is this not a normal thing? Maybe it's only something that happens in Europe." Like, literally, my personal shopper in Europe said the same thing. She catches up with her sales associates and has a coffee with them. Another person from Europe, and then another person from Europe. So maybe it is more of a European thing, and maybe that's why people were a bit confused that I kind of treat a sales associate like they're my friend. To some people in the US, I feel like this was particularly in the US, that's the kind of response I was getting, was people from that demographic were saying that the sales associates are not your friend. But it does vary. Not all sales associates treat you just like a number. I feel like that is where I failed to distinguish, is that she was the kind of sales associate that really wasn't like that. She was that kind of sales associate. So I failed to read that about her. But given that she would tell me personal stuff about her family and drama that she was having in her personal life, that is also why I was confused. That's also why I thought that we had that kind of more friendly relationship. That's why I kind of thought that, was because she would share me personal stuff. But the reason that I say that some people have it wrong is because they think that when you are being friendly to a sales associate and treating them like your friend, then that's a form of mistreatment. Someone was like, oh, you're not being mindful of her time. They're not your friends. That's mistreating the sales associate. No, it's not. Mistreating the sales associate is like what I seen when I went into Hermes that day and someone was yelling at the sales associate saying that she wanted the bag that I have. That is mistreating a sales associate, when you're like raising your voice to them and saying, I want this, I want that. That to me is mistreating. I don't feel like I had in any way intentionally tried to ever mistreat my sales associate. What I feel like I could have done better is in the last meeting that we ever had, when I brought up about the other client that, like I said, she told me it was her client. I said to her, can I have my hopes up? Could a bag potentially be coming? Because I seen X person just got another bag. When she responded to me saying there's a wish list and she had been waiting, that was when I kind of responded back to her and I said, but hang on, you said she's been waiting, but I have been waiting 24 months, over 24 months, but she's gotten 3 bags in 18 months. So I don't understand. What's wrong? I don't get it. Am I doing something wrong? And that's when she said, you shouldn't compare your client journey to someone else. Everyone's journey is different. But I can see how in me doing that can put the sales associate in a difficult situation. And it's not exactly her fault, the process that Hermes has. But at the same time, it is also a part of their training. So, and at the same time, if she never told me that was her client, I would have been none the wiser. I wouldn't have known that she was offering 3 bags in 18 months to another client. But then telling me that there is some form of a waiting process. So there was a deception there. And even though I can acknowledge that how I went about it was perhaps the wrong way, but there was a build up to why I got to that point, is because I felt like they were bullshitting me. I felt like something wasn't right and I wanted to know the truth. I wanted them to tell me the truth. If they were never going to offer me a Birkin or Kelly because they knew I do YouTube, they knew I had sold my Birkin 25. If I had known that they knew these things, and if I had known that they actually blacklisted me from getting a Birkin or Kelly or Constance, I would have stopped asking. I might have still even continued to shop at the store, to be honest. I probably still would be buying their silks, like their twillies and stuff like that, because I really like them, and their bag charms. But I was pushing for the truth, and that is why in that last meeting, I asked a harder question, and I put her on the spot. But I was still smiling. I was still being my normal, friendly, talkative self. But that being said, I do know of someone else who was blacklisted in the US, in the United States, and her sales associate told her on the down low, she told her, look, someone has reported to Hermes that you've been selling like your own personal goods on the Facebook groups, even if they're used items, like you can't do it. Someone's reported it, and now Hermes has said that I can't sell you anything from the back room anymore. And that includes obviously bags. If it's not on the floor, she wasn't allowed to sell it to her. So that sales associate in the US was honest to that client. What I wanted from my sales associate, and why I feel like I asked that hard question and why I put her on the spot, was because I was looking for the truth. I was looking for the closure, that I knew in my gut something wasn't right. And especially because 2 months had gone by when I figured out that the store manager had blocked me on Instagram. That is why I was pressing for some kind of closure. But I never got the truth. I never got the truth. Actually, I rang up Hermes and asked them, have I been blacklisted? Can you look at my profile? And they said, no, you haven't. You're welcome to buy anything. So Hermes online, like the customer service, are telling me I'm not blacklisted, but I've got a gut feeling that that store, my local store, has blacklisted me from Birkin, Kelly or Constance, but they're more than happy to sell me anything else. My whole takings from this, I should have known that Hermes is such an exclusive brand that I was never really going to, it was never probably going to end up good. But that was also why I kind of wanted the last bag, so I could just be done with the whole process at the store, because I would be happy to still buy like the silks and stuff like that and their other bags. But I wanted that kind of closure where I kind of would be like, I get the last bag and then I no longer have to feel like I'm chasing a bag, because if I want one, I'll just go pre-loved, I'll just go to the resale market and I'll just buy things that I really, really, really want. Because even though I bought items I wanted, I still feel like I justified items. So let's say, for example, my Hermes Voltage sneakers, they were $1,400. When I think about it, I would have much rather Chanel sneakers, but I remember that I went for the Hermes ones because I wanted a platform and I thought, well, it's gonna go to my spending profile. Like even my sandals, like I love my Oran sandals, but I feel like some of the colors that I went with were more like, oh, because I know that they're comfortable and it'll go towards my spending profile. Like I feel like they were just justified in some way, some of the items, not all of the items, some of the items. But I kind of wanted that closure where I could just shut the door and really be quite decisive on what I bought and not care about getting a bag. Now, the HR phone call. No matter what people say, that was so out of line. And yes, it was definitely HR because she announced her name and I checked on LinkedIn who she is, and lo and behold, it was the person. I also had someone reach out to me that confirmed that that store has some very toxic culture behind it. They even said to me, oh, I bet that X person from HR called you. It was her, wasn't it? And he was right, it was her. So there have been other people that have confirmed things that I already felt in my gut, that there was some kind of slight, like bit of a toxic culture, you know, happening there. And each to their own. Some people that still shop there are probably gonna go, there's no toxic culture, you're just being a bit of bitch, nah. Like I'm sure that there are gonna be people that think that. Let's say 4 people said something, okay? That's still 4 people. That's 4 people that came forward and validated what I kind of was feeling was a bit strange that was going on there. But whatever, you know, I'm not going to go too far into that. But yeah, the HR call was definitely out of line. I don't feel like they should be calling a consumer. I actually worked for HR quite briefly, not for Hermes quite clearly, but for the government. And HR would never call a customer if there was anything that they found questionable that the customer did. HR wouldn't call them. That was up to the customer service manager to contact the customer when it came to complaints, or it would be the customer service department that dealt with conflict resolution and complaint handling, because that is what they are trained to do. HR isn't trained on the front-facing customer aspect. They are trained on employees, policies and procedures. They are trained on workplace rights. They are trained on the conflict resolution for employees and management and all that sort of thing, you know, dispute handling for employees, you know, maternity leave, transfers. They are responsible for the internal aspect. They're not trained to be dealing with consumers and customers. So that was definitely out of line from HR. Who should have contacted me was a store manager. Also, what I want to say is that people were like, oh, because you used the word depressed, that's why they said you were an OH&S risk. I used the word depressed as an adjective. I said, I feel depressed in the process. Depressed in the process, like it's getting me down your process. Especially when it's used in that context of feeling depressed in the process. I'm speaking about a process. I'm not speaking about a person. I'm not saying about a human being. I'm not saying about myself. I'm just feeling that the process is shit. And I could have used that word. That's what I should have said rather than the word depressed. But that is essentially what I was saying. And it was a poor choice of words, but that was not what HR mentioned. What they actually said to me, why they felt that I was a possible OH&S risk to the sales associate, was because I insinuated that it matters what I spend. And Hermes is all about claiming that it doesn't matter what you spend. So that is what she said to me, that I insinuated that there is link selling, and I insinuated that what I spend depends if I get a bag. Then she also said, I brought up another client's journey. That is why she considered that I could potentially be a health and safety risk for the sales associate, because I am potentially causing the sales associate stress. That is what she said. Nothing about the depressed thing. And I can see her point that, yeah, I could understand. It probably was stressful for the sales associate, but what I think is why it was stressful was because there were things out of her control that she had no control of, because someone from above, whether it be the store manager, had blocked me from ever getting a Birkin or Kelly, and she was put in a situation where she didn't know what to say to me. I don't feel like it was because of me personally. I feel like it was because I was asking a question she couldn't answer, and it was putting her in a tough situation. And I knew about her client because she told me it was her client. So she was trying to get her way out of, one, not dealing with me anymore, or two, she was trying to resolve the situation because she knew she couldn't tell me that I had been probably blacklisted. Or the other thing is that the store manager didn't want to do his job and didn't want to call the customer to perhaps make an excuse of some kind, and just said, look, the sales associate feels as though the relationship isn't working out, and she is feeling a bit overwhelmed because you had, been asking for a bag and it hasn't happened yet. I feel like it'd be best for the both of you if we put you to a different sales associate, so that way you can continue to shop at the store and enjoy your journey. That is what the store manager could have done. He could have just done that. That would have been an easy fix. I would have gotten the hint that A, my sales associate didn't want to deal with me anymore, and B, that I probably wasn't going to get a bag for sure. I would have got that hint from it, but at least I wouldn't have felt so bitter. Like, I wouldn't feel like I was being attacked and that my character was being defamed and that I was being told that I was a health and safety risk. Like, at least I wouldn't have been feeling all that stuff, because I sure as hell didn't go to the store with a flamethrower, and I sure as hell never went to the store and threatened or intimidated anyone. I just asked a question based on logic. And it was a logical question because A, like I said, she had mentioned that the other client had been waiting, and I was like, hang on, I've been waiting. That's a logical response when she gave me that response. She gave me that response, I gave her a logical answer. I do feel sorry for the sales associate because I feel like it was out of her control, and I feel like she was just putting a rock between a hard place. But I was kind of hoping that we had a relationship where she could just tell me the truth. I would have been all right if she just sort of just said to me, look, I can't offer you a bag. It's out of my control. I'm really sorry. I guess that would have been a better way to end the relationship, because I would have been like, you know what? I've got my closure. I'm good. I've got my closure. It sucks, but I've got my closure. I would have been all right with it. But it didn't happen that way, and it happened all of the wrong ways. The other thing I wanted to bring up is a comment that I got about emotional blackmail to the sales associate. I'm just gonna say it straight. That is the biggest crock of shit ever, seriously, because the way that they were saying that it was emotional blackmail was me bringing up, oh, it's my birthday, our anniversary, push present. I'm just gonna say this. 100% of the people that I know that shop at Hermes globally, not just at my store, globally, all of them have requested bags on the basis of milestones. So are you saying that they are all emotionally blackmailing their sales associate? Like, come on, for fuck's sake, are you kidding me? It is a well-known thing that everyone, like, let's just say, okay, 100% of the people I know have gotten their bags via milestones by bringing up the milestone with their sales associate. But let's just say, for assumption's sake, based off what I would say is probably a very fair, accurate estimation, is that 90% of clients at Hermes will use milestones as an excuse to get a bag. So everyone, their mother, their brother, their sister, their uncle, their father, their husband, whatever, all of them will use some kind of excuse to get bags based on milestones. So there are even YouTubers that have done Hermes bag unboxings where they've actually gotten from the store and they told the store that it was a milestone and that's why they wanted a bag. So like push present, anniversary, birthday. There is a ton of unboxings with milestones being the reason that they've actually gotten the bag. So they've requested it based on the milestone. It is a well-known thing. To say that's emotional blackmail is absolutely ridiculous. That's just clearly you either looking for an excuse, or you don't know anyone who shops at Hermes and you don't know anyone personally that has used milestones. You don't shop at Hermes, because I feel like everyone I have spoken to that has shopped at Hermes knows someone who has requested a bag for a milestone. And I'm sure that there is 10% of the people or clients that shop at the store that don't request bags for milestones. They just don't ask for them and then they get offered them. And I'm sure that that obviously does exist, but there are just a lot of people that will request bags for milestones. The only reason that my case looks like I'm asking a lot is because over 26 months, that's more than 2 years, I had plenty of milestones and I never got the Birkin or the Kelly bag that I was asking for. You can't say that, like, seriously, do you even know what blackmail is? Like, that's ridiculous. Someone requesting something for a milestone is a completely common thing in the luxury industry. To say that that's emotional blackmail, that's just like insulting anyone who has actually used blackmail as a legitimate reason for someone committing a crime. You pretty much just insulted them. I also want to say too, for all those people that were complaining that I had, you know, decluttered, I call it decluttering, that I had sold my Hermes boxes that I don't need from my sandals. I am highly allergic to dust. That is why a house is quite minimal in regards to furniture, because the more you have, the more dust that collects, and I'm extremely allergic to dust. The other thing is that I actually donate a portion of my sales from my business to charity. So even though selling, decluttering is not a part of my business, that is not a part of what I do, but anything that comes into the same revenue of selling, I actually donate a portion to charity, and I do it every month. So let me just say that if I were to chuck those Hermes boxes in the recycling, there would be someone dumpster diving for them, and I see it all over YouTube. I see people dumpster diving. When they find luxury in people's bins, they resell it on eBay. Yes, they resell it on eBay. For me, I kind of would rather be the one that does the selling of decluttering my boxes, decluttering my dust bags, whatever it may be that I don't need. And then I have the decision of donating a portion of sales in general. I have the decision making to then donate a portion to charity, rather than someone taking those boxes and selling them for 70 bucks and then keeping that money for themselves. I have the right to actually go, you know what, I would rather keep that box and sell it and put that money towards the portion that I donate towards charity. I don't even have much of it left because I've obviously scaled back on my Hermes shopping. I have multiple listings for the same thing because I am spamming keywords, and that doesn't mean that I have 70 dust bags for sale. It just means that I probably have about 5, but I have just created 7 different types of way of putting the listing together to spam keywords. The people that have actually bought dust bags and boxes from me have personally said to me, I am buying this for my partner because I had bought her a bag pre-loved, bought a pre-loved item and it didn't come with this. Will it fit this bag? Why would counterfeiters buy genuine packaging when counterfeiters can actually make packaging on the cheap? Plus, when it comes to authenticating, real authentication doesn't give a shit about the box and the dust bag. They actually authenticate based on the fine details of the item, not the packaging. So if someone's buying genuine packaging and selling a fake item, it doesn't mean anything to authenticators anyway. They're just wasting their time by doing that. I know that this video has gone really long, but I had a lot to say. So if you've tuned in to the end, I'm gonna kind of wrap it up now. The final things I wanna say is that when people said to me, why don't you try another store? It's not that easy. We only have one store in this state. The other store is in the airport, which has been closed for a long time, and you can't access it unless you're actually traveling overseas. It's an international airport store. Our other store is 10 hours away. I'm not gonna drive 10 hours just to go bloody try and get an Hermes bag. Like, you're not even guaranteed one. You gotta build up a relationship and buy all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not gonna drive 10 hours to another store, so that was out of the option. That was not a possibility. I'm also not gonna fly 3 hours and take my kids on an airplane just so I can try and get a bag. I'm also not gonna try and go to Paris with 2 young children and a baby that's gonna cry on an airplane just so I can try my luck at potentially getting an appointment. No, fuck that, I'm not doing it. So that was why another store was never an option for me. It wasn't gonna happen. And in terms of Hermes, will I buy Hermes going forward? Yes, I will. I will buy bags pre-loved. Mainly they're elusive bags because they are great investments and they have fantastic craftsmanship and they are proven to be really good investments. So yeah, I'm still gonna buy their bags. And to people that think, oh, you know, then you're only buying it for status, yada yada, I'm buying it because I like the craftsmanship. I still think that the brand makes great bags. No, I think that they have some issues in terms of customer service. I would not deny that, but at the end of the day, it's my money. If I want to buy their bags, it is my decision. But I probably will not be buying really anything from the store directly. However, if there is an item that they have that I cannot find pre-loved for less than the retail price and I really want it, then I will buy it from Hermes. I know that that's putting money in their pocket directly. I understand that, but why should I pay? Say for example, hypothetically, I want a mini Lindy, right? Don't know if I still do, but I did want it before. Mini Lindy, in the resale market, they sell for like $2,000 to $3,000 over retail. If I could get one online for the retail price, if I'm lucky enough to score one online, of course I'd rather buy it online, directly from the Hermes online store, because then I'm not having to pay a premium for it. That's a logical thing, you know, so of course I'm gonna do that. And to people that say, oh, but if you're buying Hermes, that's still supporting the brand. You know what, in a way it kind of is, but they're just handbags. They're just handbags. And that's something that I learned in the process, is that I was invested too much in the brand. However, the investment in the brand, like my passion for them, translated to some very helpful content for a lot of people when it came to like my leather guides, the seasonal colors and all that sort of thing. So I feel like it was good because I gave all that information to people, but now going forward, I am no longer as invested in the brand and I'm not as passionate for the brand anymore. But if I still buy stuff from Hermes, that's my choice, my money, my decision. But in a nutshell, let me just say something, that luxury is expensive. And in a whole, the added luxury value that brands justify with inflating their prices, because we know that the prices that they charge does not mean that you are getting the best of the best. It really doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. They have a whole concept of added luxury value. It's called ALV, and there are plenty of blogs about it. But one of the components that come with ALV is luxury experience. So the expectation is that customers get treated like they are very special. They are buying a luxury item. So sometimes brands will give you champagne. Sometimes brands will give you macaroons, or macarons, however you say it. Like at Van Cleef & Arpels, Cardi will give you champagne. Brands will give you this whole luxury boutique experience, and that's a part of added luxury value. Hermes, on the other hand, I feel like in the way that they handled it, definitely didn't follow the concept of added luxury value. And if they had done it the right way, like I had already said, I wouldn't be feeling so bitter, and I wouldn't have never made that video. I would have never made the video because I wouldn't have been feeling as shit as I do. If I had gotten the closure and the honesty from them, in terms of they were never going to be able to offer me a bag. Even if they told me, they go, look, we know you sold a bag before, and because of that, we're not allowed to offer you a bag anymore. I'm sorry, it's against our terms and conditions. I would have been okay with that. It would have sucked, but I wouldn't have made a video like the way that I did, being so upset and calling them out. I wouldn't have even done it. I would have probably just made a casual video and just gone, you know what? Don't sell publicly, because if they find out, they'll blacklist you. And there are some bitter bitches that will report you on the Facebook groups for selling your stuff. Like I said, the person that I know from the US, someone reported her for selling her own used items. Some of her items she didn't even buy from the store. She bought it pre-loved, and they reported her to Hermes to get her blacklisted. That probably would have been the context of the video. If they had been honest with me, that would have been what I would have more so made a video about, is that you got to be wary of selling your own personal stuff on Facebook and anywhere that has your name. The other thing that they do wrong is that she kept saying to me, when a bag is available, I will let you know, or as soon as the bag is available, I will have you in mind. She shouldn't have said those sorts of things. Or I'll let you know when the wait list is open. That was in the very beginning, in the early 6 months. She shouldn't have said those things. Like, you know, that's what got me feeling like I still was potentially going to get a bag. That is where their shortcoming was, is that they gave me answers that made me feel like a bag would potentially happen, even though the brand isn't obligated to offer you one. They were kind of planting the seed and dangling the carrot and making me think it would potentially happen again, and I would be able to get my third dream bag, my third Birkin Kelly, whatever. So that pretty much sums up everything. I think that's all I can really say. The other note that I want to tell you guys is that, you know what, shopping pre-loved, when it comes to the unknown of knowing what you need to spend, and they say that spend doesn't matter, but whatever. You know what though, with the whole thing with spend, they say, someone said to me that their sales associate said, it doesn't matter what you spend, it depends your loyalty and love for the brand. How do you show loyalty and love without spending money? How do they measure the loyalty and love? Do you just buy one item and tell the sales associate how much you love the brand? Like I said that I really love Hermes and I know everything about their leathers and I know what all the colors are. I could tell all the leathers that were on the shelf in the bags that were on display. My sales associate couldn't tell. Even the colors, I'd be like, yep, that's Nata, that's Cray, that's Box Calf, that's Tadillac. I could tell all those things. So clearly I had a passion and love for the brand. It's just the way for them to say that we cannot indirectly tell you that it matters what you spend, but we're just gonna tell you that it matters how loyal you are to the brand and how much you love the brand. But we all know that it is a measure of spend. Don't beat around the bush, that's the truth of it. I was gullible enough to think that it doesn't really matter what you spend. It was just a timing thing, and it matters how long you waited. If you weren't willing to spend on fine jewelry and ready to wear, then it just mattered about time, and that if you're willing to wait 2 years, they would just offer you a bag. That's what I thought, because that's what happened with my second bag. It was almost 2 years. But you know, it is what it is. Pre-loved is far less stressful. If you're wanting to get an Hermes bag and you see them as investments and you see that they make fantastic quality bags, even though luxury is never really worth its price point, but if you really want like a Birkin or a Kelly or a Constance, I'm gonna admit buying pre-loved is pretty much stress-free, especially when you buy from reputable stores like Fashion File, Vestiaire Collective. They are like in the heart of Paris. So if, you know, providing that sellers in Europe, they do their own authenticity checks. There are some really good deals to be had. I also buy from a lot of Singaporean and Japanese resellers, or consignment stores. So I prefer pre-loved. I was buying pre-loved before I started to buy at the store, and I was enjoying it. And I will just go right back to the way that I used to shop Hermes, which was like their bags, which is pre-loved. Other than, you know, cases where I could get those other bags online potentially, then it would make more sense to buy it online if I can. But that is it. I'm going to link down below any good deals that I find. I feel like the Birkin 35 is such a good deal right now, and my prediction is that by the end of the year the pricing will go up because there will be travel and people will want bigger bags for traveling. So if you are okay with a bigger bag, there are some very good deals to be had, and I think that will change by the end of the year. You'll see prices go up a bit. They probably won't still go up to like that level of like Birkin 30, Kelly 25, that kind of thing, Kelly 28, but I still feel like the prices will jump a couple $1,000s when travel starts happening again around the world. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.